Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 382, being recorded on January 13th, 2016?
It's not Friday, we're good.
It's not Friday. No. It's not Friday, but is it the 13th?
It is.
Okay. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Malventano.
For some reason, I thought it had already crossed over into the 14th. Like, I remember writing 13th earlier, but I didn't know if it was today or yesterday, and I was paying bills. Oh. So there's that. Speaking of bills, I'm not going to pay any more of these because we're going to win this. This right here.
Ken's got to switch to it.
$1.5 billion American dollars.
I want to say something about this website.
Okay.
It is the best idea ever.
As simple as possible.
This is all anyone needs to know. It probably saves them so much on bandwidth.
That's true.
Because, like, if you can hit continue to powerball.com, they probably have a full site with a bunch of bullshit that no one cares about.
Yeah. Do you think it's always like this, or just because there's so much
I think it's actually always
interest?
like that.
Do you think so? Okay. See, there's the full version.
Yeah, no one cares about any of that stuff.
You have to work for it, right? You have to, like,
Oh,
click,
man.
You have to click something else.
Like
16, 19, 32, 34, 57, 13.
Those were all numbers that were not picked last.
So nobody won on the 9th. Huh. None. And how many match 5 winners were there? Well, 5 winners for $2 million and 5 winners of $1 million.
Wow.
it's
Those poor bastards.
2.1 billion Canadian dollars.
Yep. Actually, it's probably higher right now.
Do you guys have Canadian Powerball? Are you part of this?
No, we've got people who go down and buy Powerball tickets in the U.S.
Man, do you have to pay? I wonder if you have to pay state, like federal U.S. and then federal Canadian taxes on that. Like if
But
you
we
win
don't tax
lottery.
autos.
Yeah, but it's not a lottery. It's not a Canadian lottery.
It's just income coming from the U.S.
It's just income.
No,
coming from
you
the
will
US.
lose something on, essentially out of Canada holdings coming in.
Canadian Border Patrol takes half.
There's a ways around it, but yeah, they'd have to pay all the U.S. taxes, and apparently there were just hordes of people descending down south and buying Powerball tickets.
Hey, you know what? Thanks for donating the money to local scholarship programs.
Local
I
municipalities.
guess. I went to my college was paid for by lottery. Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually,
You won the lottery?
A different one, though.
not winning the lottery, by people paying into the lottery. I had a scholarship. The state scholarship from Kentucky was funded by Powerball lottery. Interestingly enough, in any event, that's not actually what's going to happen because nobody's going to win anything. But welcome to the show. Somebody's going to win something, but it's not going to be us. Welcome to the show. We record the show on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific at pcper.com/live. If you need a gentle reminder of that, you can go to pcper.com/subscribe. You get this form right here that basically asks for your name and your email address, and we'll send you a notification like an hour or so before we go live, usually. We had a little bit... last week was obviously we had 3 shows last week? 3 different CES shows that we did. So it's a busy week then, but we're back to our normal cadence here of once a week. At least that's the plan going forward. So make sure you go subscribe to that. And the second thing I want to mention, and this is something that we had been debating for a long time. We had been discussing internally for a long time, and then finally decided to do it just a couple, 3 weeks ago. But something we launched officially this afternoon as we record this on Wednesday afternoon, just a few hours ago, and we're going to do a Patreon. So if you don't know what a Patreon campaign is, if you will, it is a platform in which people can pay content creators for their work based on lots of different factors, right? Some people have it pay per video, per episode of a show or whatever. We have it set up so that you are paying per month, and it is a recurring monthly payment. And it is basically a value for value proposition. How much do you think the work that Ken and me and Alan and Jeremy and Josh and Sebastian and Scott and Tim and Lee and all the guys that are out there that contribute to the site is actually worth to you on a monthly basis?
This was an awful idea. Can it go negative?
Yeah.
No, we're not paying you for anything.
Okay.
It could be $1 a month. It could be $3, $5, $10, $20, $30, $50, $100, $100,000. If you pay $100,000 a month...
But the idea isn't just to use it to do that. We're trying to make
I still want to hear what's going on with $100,000 a month, because
that'd be
if I
nice.
win that Powerball,
You pay
Whatever you want, honey.
Will you pay us
Whatever you
$100,000 a month?
want.
So, Ryan.
So I actually had a
Yeah.
thought I was going to have a $10,000 a month option, and that person, I would guarantee that Josh would fly out to their residence every month to do something, whatever they needed.
act as a
done.
fluffer.
Whatever they want.
You know,
No
housework.
fluffing. I can do a poker game, but no fluffing.
But
Poker.
you'd be the maid during the poker game.
Pokem game?
The server.
Okay.
Maybe the server during the
It's
poker.
$120,000 a year, Josh. Think about it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Live like a king in Wyoming.
So the idea is pretty simple here, guys, and I'm not going to talk about this for too long, but I want to get the general purpose along because we'll be mentioning it, once an episode or so for the foreseeable future. The idea is pretty straightforward. We believe that what we do is useful to the community. It's useful to the industry. And it becomes increasingly difficult to get advertisers and kind of the standard methods of income onto the site. This is something that's been happening for a long time. You'll see it from it manifests itself in other places all over the media world, right? So you've got people who have left their websites to go work at other companies because they obviously weren't. It wasn't a super lucrative deal for them. You've had websites that have had to do really invasive ad types, roadblocks, interstitials, those types of things, or sponsored sections of sites, and we don't. I'm not going to say we'll never do those types of things, but we don't want to do those things. And so one of the ways we can try to prevent that is going to the audience directly and saying, hey, we want your help to make sure we can continue to do what we're doing today, but then also find ways to make it better, whether that be new stories, new articles, more in-depth testing in certain product categories, or new shows. We want to do a PC Perspective weekly mailbag video podcast. We want to do a weekly gaming show of some kind. We want to do I've had this idea forever where we had the old hardware and we do this kind of post-mortem discussion about what it was, how it was made, why it was cool. And all those projects take money and time. And the truth is that really detailed technical work takes a lot more time to do than 400-word blogs that regurgitate press releases, right? And the problem for us as advertisers, they don't really care how much time I put into. The perfect example is the FreeSync G-Sync dissection video and article that Alan and I worked on. A lot of time and effort went into the research of how to test it, what to get to test, perfecting it, making sure we had everything right, and then coherently presenting all that data.
Yeah,
and that was all on one page on the website.
We probably could have done 10 times the amount of other just spitting out, pages of content.
But it was it was an important amount of content. It was specific content. It was, it pointed out errors and problems in FreeSync, how they could fix it, that they have now implemented those fixes into it to make a better product. But like I said, that was all on one page. So in terms of our advertisers, they don't really care. They saw one page view.
Yep.
Whereas, random website, hardwareblog.org, they could post a press release from an ASUS CES thing, got the same page view. It took them 6 minutes. It took us 26 hours to do the other one, right? And so because of the added cost of what I consider to be good technical content, we have to have higher expectations about what our income is in regards to those types of things. So that's kind of why we decided to reach out and say, hey, look, you're our fans. You're the people that benefit from this. We hope that you enjoy it. We can make it entertaining as well as technically informative. And so that's why we created the patreon.com/PCPer page. And it basically is a platform that makes it easier for you and it makes it easier for us to donate to that cause, right? So you can see a description there of basically what I kind of gave you an overview of what our goals are for the money. There's Josh in a bathtub, for example.
That's what you get for $10,000 a month.
That's right.
For $11,000, you don't get that.
That's
You
right.
guaranteed don't get that.
Yeah.
I guarantee we'll never post another picture of Josh in a bathtub if any one person donates $10,000 a month. Right, and so you'll see some of that outline there, and then there's different tiers here. We have some rewards for you. If you donate more than $3 a month, you get access to our Patreon feed where we'll post fun pictures like that. that was sent to us on Twitter, or this interesting video of Josh enjoying the beginning of the campaign. Right, so these are the types of things that you will be privy to for $3, right? But you go to $5, and we're going to host a couple of live streams, hangouts, maybe just live streams on this through YouTube, where we'll BS with you guys, take some questions, that type of thing. $10 you get access to the PC per mailbag video a day before everybody else. That's the goal for that. $20, you can opt in to sign up for the banner ad free version of the PC per website. $30 or more, you get that, and you get access to the joshtech.com website, which once we hit, I think there's a specific goal in there, like if there's a milestone in there at some point where it's like, okay, we're actually going to build that into something. We don't know what. It'll just be a whole bunch of really dumb stuff.
Yep.
Pictures and videos like the one we just demonstrated there. So give what you can. We're not demanding anybody like, oh, we're not going to let you listen to the podcast unless you give us $10 a month or something like that. And if you can only give $1, if you can only give 5, 10, 20, 50, whatever it is, every little bit helps. Every little bit is awesome, and we greatly appreciate it. And if you can't give anything, that's fine too. Like, we understand, and we're not going to put a bunch of content behind paywalls and stuff like that. Right? You're still going to have access to the podcast, and it's just a little bit of extra things that people will get for that. So appreciate it. Anything that you can support us with here, spread the word if you think it's something worth doing as well. And again, that URL is Patreon, patreon.com/PCper, and you'll have the ability to do what you need to do there. And we thank you. We thank you very deeply, honestly, for the support you've given us over the last 16 years or so. It's been 16 years for me. It hasn't been 16. I don't know if Josh, you haven't been 16 years with me, but
2008.
Okay, so
that's 7 years.
That's how long my own personal hell has lasted.
It's more than 7 years, isn't it?
No, it is 8. It is.
It will be 8 at some point in this.
8 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the end of December. You made your foolish decision.
Yeah.
In 2007,
Yeah,
and I
looking
joined
back,
up.
Not the best idea.
It was only a year later I came on.
I don't remember. As soon as Josh came on board, it was all a blur.
Yeah,
It's all downhill.
It's like, just throw it all out the window.
Yeah, Alan
Bring
was
Alan
like
on.
2008. I was September 2009.
Oh, man.
Right?
Sebastian, I guess. Let's see. Well, after you, we probably had brought on Scott and Tim.
Yeah.
Or were they before you?
No, they're
No,
after.
They were
after.
after.
They're like 2011.
And then
I'd
Sebastian seems like just weeks ago.
Yep.
Sebastian
Maury.
was here. Maury was in.
say 2013.
Maury was a few
halfway
broken
through
ties ago.
2013, maybe.
That was earlier than that too. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be.
Anyway, there's a lot of people here. So patreon.com/PCper. That's what I'm going to say. That's all.
Hey, I have a Patreon as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of a performance piece. I've got $128 a month, though.
Yeah.
Essentially, what it is a promise and video of me shoving my hand down the back of my pants whenever I shop in Walmart to protest the gross consumerism of our society.
Is this a Patreon or is this a donation from?
Well, of course, it's a Patreon because where else are you going to get money for that kind of behavior?
Oh.
That's true.
On the internet.
Yeah, by very definition. By its very definition.
What if one of our goals is just I keep the camera on Josh for the entire podcast? we had the Josh feed.
Moneymaker.
A second
a
camera
separate
angle
feed.
that is all Josh all of the time. We thought about one of the options being we just install a drop cam here and it's just 24/7 of the office. Even when nobody's here, you can just watch it in the dark, see if anybody
That'd be
sneaks in.
awfully boring.
Yeah, but people are into weird stuff. Alien asks in the chat, have you asked NVIDIA, AMD, Intel to pledge on Patreon yet?
I think that kind of defeats the point.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting idea, but I do think we want to take this from readers. Like we want to get the support of the people who are actively benefiting. If
we don't want to have a zone of our website that's dedicated or sponsored by.
and in theory,
We don't wanna do
if
that
we
kind of
said
thing.
if we could get all of them to commit the same amount per month, that would be an interesting thing.
This isn't like political campaign contributions. We don't want to be beholden to anybody.
Yeah.
That's the
right?
thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Unless the Koch brothers really do want to throw $10,000.
Yeah, okay. And, we'll find Josh out.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, flights out of Wyoming are getting cheaper. So I'd be willing to do that.
I think you can just grab a horse and head south.
Valid. It's a valid.
Yeah, we got plenty of burros to help me carry my baggage.
Yeah. If he's got to cross the canyon, so be it. He's got to do it. All right, let's get into content here, guys. First up, we've got a review. This is interesting. A review of a SUPERMICRO Z170 motherboard. I'm going to shrink my chair a little bit. I feel too tall.
How many sockets does it have?
But you're only tall above the waist.
How many CPUs?
Yes, as we determined before the show. Looks like this one only has one, Ken.
Oh.
This is, so we've actually looked at a SUPERMICRO X99 board. Maury has done a review of that before, so it shouldn't surprise us too much. But it's still interesting to me to see a review of a SUPERMICRO consumer motherboard. It doesn't have as crazy a name as you might have expected. It's a C7 Z170 SQ, which every time I look at it, I think of Sasquatch for some reason, and it has no association with the beast known as Sasquatch, so to speak. So there's the board. What do you think, Josh? Fancy enough for you?
It's so fancy. I already know. No, it looks like a high-end motherboard from about 2007.
Yeah. It doesn't, like, styling-wise, it doesn't stand out anyway. I do like this, though. I don't know how many motherboard manufacturers include this information. Like consumer motherboard manufacturers include, like, a diagram like this anymore. But SUPERMICRO with their heritage is including something like this.
Well, considering the number of jumpers that come with this thing, you kind of need that.
Yeah, that's true.
Does it have an M.2 slot? Oh, yeah, it does.
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of hiding.
Look at the size of that M.2
Yeah, it's just
slot.
So, I mean, it's got a decent amount of, like, specifications and features and stuff. It is a fully featured Z170 board, 6 SATA 6 gigabit per second ports, 2 PCIe 3.0 by 16s on their 6 USB 3.0. Obviously, only two of those, only one of those can get by 16 of bandwidth, the PCIe by 16 slots. It's still a split 8 and 8 if you do SLI or Crossfire graphics. It is kind of minimalist, I guess I'll say, in some areas. If you look at the output connections, right, you've got HDMI, DisplayPort, and DVI, only 2 USB 3.0 ports on the back, but you do have a USB 3.1 Type-C port on the back, which is interesting, and they are using an Intel i219V gigabit Ethernet controller for that single gigabit Ethernet port there. There you can see you've got 3 by 16, 3 by, what is that, by 2, by 4?
By 4s?
Those are by 4s, at least physically, if not electrically.
Yeah.
And there's your M.2.
It'll do M.2 22110.
Is that the biggest?
Which is the really long one, yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting because a lot of boards we see these days don't even do by 2208, right?
80? They
2280, yeah.
That's pretty much the standard size now. But
it is.
But we do still run into some that are like the 2260,
Right.
which is really weird. That they would only have, there was one board we saw that only had a 2260, which was useless.
Yeah, because none of the currently
that
shipping
was an ITX
popular
board.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a mini ITX.
The majority.
Was that the one that had it on the back?
No,
I don't think so, because then it would have been the normal length, you would think. But the vast majority of
think.
Every M.2 SSD we've tested to date is 2280.
Okay.
Just to give you
2280 being 80 millimeters.
80 millimeters
length,
long.
right?
Yeah.
That's yeah.
But we did see a couple of 22110 at CES. So
yeah.
I wonder how the lanes are laid out on that one. If they're forced to go through the chipset or through over the DMI.
Yes, I'm pretty. Yes.
Yeah.
Nobody's using the PCIe lanes that I know of directly from the processor for storage connectivity.
Okay. Well, I mean, with just one, you're okay.
Yeah. I don't think that's a big deal, honestly. They run the audio through its own PCB layer. They're doing some stuff to try to be competitive in this market. And honestly, if you look at this picture, you see the SUPERMICRO logo on a chipset cooler, and it's about as basic of a chipset cooler as you can get. But here's the secret, guys. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Right? That's all it needs is that.
It does have decent size heat sinks on the voltage regulator.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
They're okay. Like, I mean, it's not like that Asus board, the one we saw at CES that had an EK water block pre-integrated on it, but it's going to get the job done, right? And it's going to fit your CPU cooler. It's going to have some decent UEFI integration in here. It's very I was going to say Voltron. That's not what I mean. Tron-esque in its design and color scheme,
It's
right?
got the glow blue stuff going.
Yeah. And it seems to be fairly functional, right, Jeremy? I don't know if you saw anything in particular that stood out in any of these areas.
He just sort of overall said it's pretty simplified. You can't take screenshots. A lot of the right-click functionality that you get used to in some of the fancier ones isn't quite there. But at the same time, everything is where you want it. You don't get bogged down in 18 different menus to try and find what you're looking for. So, I mean, it was kind of like the board itself, a mix of pared down versus perfectly usable.
Right.
So this thing's
And
like...
you have to get used to the overclocking settings in there because, as he mentions at the end, he did not have any luck apart from the preset ones that they had.
Yeah. He had a hard time overclocking it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And,
But the preset ones would kind of work.
So this board is about 220.
Did we talk in particular about all the jumpers on the board?
Jeremy mentioned there were a lot, but I don't know what were their purposes here.
The way I understand it is there's one to disable every add-on controller on the board.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
From USB ports to audio.
So
That's a whole carryover from their server
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So does that mean you
absolutely.
can't disable them in the BIOS? You have to disable them through the jumpers? I would assume that would be the case. You
I
probably
would-
couldn't do both.
I would think you couldn't do both, yeah.
You couldn't have both functionality, both options of
Well,
functionality.
one would obviously supersede the other one.
Well, yeah,
It could. Yeah, I could see it that way. I mean, there's some benefit to having it on a jumper,
Yeah.
right? Like,
The tactile feel, if that jumper's in that position, it's not going to activate.
but it's also, it's like...
you upgrade your BIOS and that
pain in the
flag gets
ass.
reset. Like
That's true. Yeah, that's true. If the jumper would prevent any of those types of issues, that would be interesting.
it's not going to bother you anymore.
So for 220, I mean, aren't there other boards cheaper than this?
Yeah, it's not like if this board were $180 or something like that, I'd feel a lot better about it.
Right, that's what I'm feeling on this one.
Especially with the overclocking kind of concerns that Maury had.
Yeah.
And this is a board that really needs to be used in a like long-term evaluation thing. Like, was it super stable, right? That's what SUPERMICRO was kind of built on, right? Is the idea that, hey, we build servers and workstations, and we don't mess around with all this other junk that's going to cause you to have random blue screens, maybe random hitches when you update BIOS, those types of things. So it'd be interesting to kind of see that in a longer term look, but it doesn't look like a bad board. And I think for maybe,
Hey, they got a great BIOS button placement.
Where's it at?
Battery.
Battery.
Oh, battery. Yes, they do.
Battery.
You
Look
said
at that.
You said button, but yeah.
Well, it kind of looks like a button
Well, they have one of those too.
you button up your coat with.
Speaking of that in-depth technical information we were
A
going into
shiny
earlier,
button.
it does look like a big silver button. You know what I mean?
It's a button
Yes,
cell.
I do.
But yes, it does have excellent CMOS battery placement. It is listed in the strengths here, right there.
All right.
So check out that review if you are curious. You're looking for maybe something else, something unique on the motherboard side of things. And like I was going to say, this for their first kind of stab at a fairly high end motherboard. This is not bad. Right into this series, like I said, we looked at the X99 board. I think the X99 board actually impressed Maury a bit more than this Z170 option did. So, but yeah, 220 on Newegg, 230 on Amazon, 220 at B&H Photo. But take a look. That again is the SUPERMICRO C7 Z170 SQ, not Sasquatch. SQ. Squa. The Squa. Moving on. Again in quick succession here, the Be Quiet. I've always wondered when I look at this name that Be Quiet is all lowercase, but it has an exclamation point at the end. So how are you supposed to pronounce this?
Be
In a
quiet.
very quiet yell.
Be quiet!
Yes.
God damn it! Be quiet, you stupid.
But then like
A librarian could do it naturally.
okay, now I'm starting to understand. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah. Anyway, we're looking at the Dark Power Pro 11 1000 watt power supply that Lee did a review of. As you might expect, I think their target is low noise levels with this power supply. Looks okay. Looks like a power supply. Looks a little bit, I don't know. I'm assuming this thing's across the top there, plastic. but it looks decent enough.
Dark
Oh wait,
power.
what?
Right here, this thing's across the fan grill. Like,
No, they're metal wires.
oh, are they really?
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, that kind of kicks ass then.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I was
it's like
on
it's
those
cast
Gentlemen,
and
engineering.
Sebastian and I were talking about that.
Oh, right. Oh, you saw these at CES.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Virtually inaudible Silent Wings 3 135 millimeter cooling fan. And as you expect for something that wants to be quiet, efficiency is important. So it is an 80 plus platinum certified power supply with 105C rated parts for stability. I think if your computer is at 105C, you have other issues than if your power supply is going
There is
to.
some serious design going on in that fan.
Yeah, you like that?
Oh, yeah.
It's on the last page.
On the last page, let's look at that here.
It is like
It's a nice German design.
that is
Yep.
serious.
Those are some lines, dog.
Well, I know what they're going for, but it's just like
Are they? It's
like-
just reducing of turbulence.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Wow.
So it looks like they use one of their high quality case fans in the power supply.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a really good touch.
They have a lot of experience with that stuff outside of it. So how do they implement that in? And now you see where
Well,
they
the
get
Germans,
from
they pay attention to detail.
it. Exactly.
That's why this power supply is created with 500,000 pieces.
What are
And
the
dual
emissions
movements.
like though?
yeah. What's the diesel emissions platform like?
Yeah, you don't want to get into you don't want to dig in the firmware of the power supply.
No.
It's not important. It's not important. You don't need to worry about
50 plus plat or 80 plus plat.
It's a little bit expensive. It's $239, which makes it a little bit expensive compared to the competition Lee brings out here, the Seasonic EVGA Corsair competition. But everything else is listed as strengths. Very quiet operation, virtually silent at low to mid power levels, 80 plus platinum, plus minus 2% on voltage regulation on the AC ripple. Overclocking feature allows selecting single rail 12 volt operation. So if you can switch back and
You
forth
see that
between
little
them.
white port
Yep.
on the motherboard on the PSU there?
Yep.
There's a little plug that you put in that has a switch that goes to the back, and you can switch it so it goes from 4 12 volt rails to a single one.
So would that make this a digital power supply, or it could still be an analog one and you do that?
See, no, I'm
It's got
not
to be
sure.
digital, I think.
I think it is digital.
Yeah.
But I
it
think
has
there's
to
only one major guy that doesn't do digital yet. And we talked about that over.
Yeah, Seasonic.
Yeah.
5-year warranty, although it is a little expensive, but it's still got a gold award, so that's good praise from Lee in regard to that. So if you're looking for a high-powered yet quiet 1,000-watt power supply, take a look at the Be Quiet Dark Power Pro. It does have probably the coolest name in power supplies. Probably the coolest name in power supplies. We've got a handful of things from CES that we're going to touch on, even though 3 days of podcast from the show was not enough.
Let's be honest, we weren't on topic.
No, yeah, that's true. Josh, AMD announced the Wraith cooler,
The Wraith cooler.
which I'm going to be honest with you, it's really hard for me to get excited about a new OEM cooler for a processor.
It's a little underwhelming
So why is it interesting?
At least AMD still puts them in the box.
True.
because it is really needed.
Okay.
So you've got a, let's say you've got one of the latest FX 8370 cores, and it's a little warm outside, and you're just using the OEM fan. That PWM fan just starts screaming after a while because it's about a 95 watt TDP cooler on a 125 watt TDP part. So they decided to over-design a little bit and put this across the board in both AM3 and FM2 Plus products. So it's a larger cooler. It's got more fins, more copper, a little bit more weight. It's got a shrouded fan that is also LED lit. How cool is that?
Yeah.
And
It looks okay.
it is a constant velocity fan. So it doesn't matter what or how hot your processor or cool it is.
Wait, really?
It's going at a relatively slow speed, so it is whisper quiet, and it is a huge improvement in how quiet it is as compared to the previous OEM fans that I've used for some reviews.
Why would you have it? Why would you make it a constant speed fan? Do you not want? Is it just so quiet that they don't have to worry about it, even if the processor
Exactly.
gets real hot? I mean, that sounds
Yeah.
That sounds dumb. That sounds out of like nobody else has a fan that does
a
that.
time when you're going to hear. I mean, it's a higher TDP rated cooler, so it's like 135 watts, and that takes care of the FX processors, takes care of all the APUs without a problem, without going into 90 plus, or I think it's they don't go above 70. AMD rates their parts. So even with the higher end 125 watt TDP CPUs at that fan speed, under even kind of not great conditions, it's still going to keep it cooler than that 70 degrees Celsius. And you're never going to have a time when you're working at your computer and hearing as that thing spins up and becomes extremely.
As a personal anecdote, my A83850 has one of the old stock coolers in it in my home theater PC. God.
Yeah.
I really have to crank up the speakers.
Good stuff,
on that thing.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the new Wraith cooler will fix all that. There you go. And there's a little video there as well that demonstrates the sound profile differences.
We saw it at CES. We got up on it. It was very quiet.
Got all up on it. So
I stuck my ear next to it, and it was quiet.
He really wanted to stick his finger into it. But we said, "No, kid, no, not again." And he held back just a little bit.
I've learned self-control.
He was taught by pain.
That's right. That's all the best people learn.
Fire hot.
Yeah, well, Ken's motto is pain is weakness leaving the body, which is why he's on the ground all the time.
I saw. Did somebody post it in our group chat here? No, there was something on there of somebody made a parody. I think it was called Jedi Dance Club or something like that, and it's a parody of mini clips of episode 1. And they specifically linked to the clip where C-3PO, where he has no exterior, right? It's only wires and gears and stuff that you see. Or that he wakes up, but they obviously are doing voiceover, and he complains about being in a living hell and every movement is pain, and he promised me skin. And then,
I remember that.
And then he goes through it, and he sees Jar Jar, and it's like, that creature has a lot of skin, and nobody seems to like it. I would be doing them a favor by killing him and taking his
He's
skin.
borderline insane the way he's talking.
No, yeah. It's... And anyway, let's talk about Dell at CES 2016, Josh. You went to their press conference and saw some pretty cool stuff. Let's start with that OLED 4K display, if you will.
Okay, so that was the one that everybody seemed to like. Certainly they had laptops and 2-in-1s and docking stations and ports and stuff, but everybody crowded around the 4K OLED 30-inch professional monitor. So it's an UltraSharp, and it goes for the low price of $49.99.
Wait. 40, you're talking about $49.99?
$500 isn't bad.
Exactly.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Yeah.
But if you compare it against to some of the higher end Sony professional monitors, which go for $18,000, this is a bargain as compared. And it's one of the first of its kind out there. And they'll be shipping it. It comes with USB, 3.0C, 3.1C connector. So it can do the power, can do the video, all the things through one cable.
That's pretty impressive.
It doesn't charge things on the base.
How cheap do these monitors have to get before people consider to buy them? Right. I'm thinking back. Actually, I want to show this picture here of this screen. That one here, Ken. This is the one I guess you took, Josh, there.
Yeah. And you can see how just absolutely black. And I took that with HDR to try to get the best contrast possible.
It's hard to do, yeah.
Yeah. And plus you're looking at it likely on a LCD screen.
But look at how, if you kind of look, I look at this and go, wow, the pinks and the whites are almost overblown in this photo, but yet the blacks are still super, super black.
Yeah, they're just off
at the edge, right?
There's just no light coming from it.
I want that display, just like I desperately want that ThinkPad Yoga with the OLED display.
I think
one of those is attainable.
I think I'm actually going to order that.
Yeah.
I'm seriously considering ordering that ThinkPad. That screen was that good.
So right now, LG is one of the only people making these panels, and a lot of their production is going to their large LCDs.
Well,
correct?
We don't know who's making these panels. We have a hunch that's LG, considering they're the only ones who have really made large OLED panels in their TVs. But like, Sebastian and I tried to look up information on who could potentially make the ThinkPad panel, and we couldn't find anything.
And we couldn't rip the back
So
off.
we'll just have to wait until this stuff comes out and start seeing.
I don't want to wait.
There are definitely a few.
The Dell guy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There
I
definitely
actually asked the Dell guy who was making the presentation. They had a Q&A answer.
Yeah.
Q&A thing. A couple of people asked a question, and then I got really obnoxious, and they asked me to leave, and then I asked a person a question, and then they allowed me to stay. But anyway, I said, when are we actually going to see an actual, range of products based on OLED that, currently we've got 13-inch laptops, and now we've got this 30-inch professional screen. I mean, when are we going to see it? He's like, well, it's, I can't really talk about future products and things like that, but it's all up to the production of these screens and when their price points hit the places that we need to be able to sell these products. And so right now, I think the price point of these 13-inch laptops with OLEDs is really good. When I think Alienware, they don't even charge a premium for their OLED 13-inch. I mean, it's a $14.99 part.
Right.
As compared to Lenovo, who has an IPS, which is $14.99, and then you got the OLED for, what, $16.99?
Yeah, 200 more.
Yeah, 200 more.
Yeah. So if you really want an OLED screen that's gaming, look at that Alienware, because it's $200 cheaper than Lenovo, but you're going to hit some other design issues. It's still a small laptop, but it's something to consider. But throughout this year, we'll probably see a couple of new SKUs coming out once they start getting production really ramped up, start selling a lot of these 13-inch, that'll justify more factory space and designs to do this. But it's going to take a while. It's going to take at least a year before we see, like a 24-inch LCD panel. And who knows what that price is going to be. I mean, certainly it'll be at least half that of the 30-inch when it's released. But it's going to take a while still, even though, LG's got a lot of OLED TVs. It seems like production is more skewed towards those large ones that are not terribly expensive. I mean, certainly a lot more than regular LCD TVs.
I'm trying to think of like when we first got in our first 4K monitor. Now, to be fair, we didn't buy it. I think NVIDIA sent it to us because they wanted to test 4K.
Sent us it.
AMD sent us first. I think both of them sent one. No, Asus
sent one, and then AMD sent the Sharp
AMD
one.
sent the Sharp version. But they were like $2,800 at the time.
I want to say like 32.
Yeah, they were.
It was around the 3,000.
It was
about the big
about
Asus panel.
Yeah,
it was $3,500 when I first got
the
it.
MST. It was like $3,500.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, that's kind of the price point where the really extreme enthusiasts about cool new technologies, whether it be for gaming or productivity or content creation or whatever,
super early adopter.
Start to look at that type of thing. That's why you see so many like cameras in the $3,000 mark. That's like, oh, we're doing 4K this, and $3,000 is kind of like that point of you can get people's attention without sounding too outlandish. I think we see an OLED screen hit $29.95 or something sometime this year, and it'll be interesting.
So do we think we'll ever really see like a 24-inch OLED desktop monitor, or will it just be bigger stuff than that? Like, how many years do you think it is until we see a 24?
I think it's going to be at least a year, but
Really?
it's going to be there. I mean, we've already got 13-inch.
Yeah, we
Who would
do.
have thought about what's the point of having a 13-inch OLED?
Well, laptops.
Yeah, but it's worse battery performance than an LCD.
Well,
Sometimes.
you have to be
Most
seeing the
of the
real
time.
world impact. But like,
Yeah.
think of how many 24-inch monitors are selling these days, and at what price points. Do you think
They're really cheap.
they'll be able to slide in a 24-inch monitor at a premium price
For the
point?
professional group, yes. For a $2,500 24-inch that can do that, medical imaging, that's huge. You need
Yeah,
high
that's
contrast
true.
for
Medical imaging can see a
radiography,
big benefit
crap
there.
like that.
Yeah.
It's going to be
That's a
key,
good point.
and they will buy it up in droves.
Yeah.
And I mean, that might be the reason that we see the 30-inch first.
Yeah.
Because there's probably some kind of supplier for medical specific gear.
Well, I mean, you sold 2560 by 1600 30-inch first as well, right? That seems to be.
No, I mean for the OLED.
Right, but I'm saying like it makes sense. Like the 30-inch form factor is kind of like professional level.
Yep.
We need this much space to maybe do something.
Yeah, but in this case, that might be driving specifically the OLED. Like, why is there a gap in the middle? Well,
between 13 and 30.
You need
currently.
a market.
Yeah.
You need more than just consumers buying it to kind of
Sure.
get it rolling, right?
Sure. So that's I'm pretty excited for that. The other stuff at Dell, Josh, I think we'd already talked about it during the week. The convertible 2-in-1, and I have an XPS 15 on the way here as well. I think this week,
which should be.
So,
oh wait,
that's
it's
a beautiful.
That one's got the
beautiful
camera
laptop.
at the top,
Yeah.
the XPS 15 does.
I think it has.
I don't know if it does or not.
or does it have a thin bezel like that?
I think it.
It definitely
I
has a
don't
thin
remember.
bezel. I
Yeah.
think it's on the bottom still.
I was thinking of another laptop we saw.
Yeah, that was a Lenovo something.
You gotta put that camera.
It was
near the
the Lenovo 710S.
The IdeaPad 710S.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the webcam's not at the top anymore.
Good there, Josh. Ready to go on?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about a price cut to a video card. No new GPUs coming out anytime soon, but we do have a price cut to the AMD Radeon R9 Nano. This is a card that originally launched at $649, but Jeremy is getting a pretty significant drop, it seems, this week.
It sure as hell does. $150 off of any card is impressive. So at $500, I think this is going to be a little bit more attractive to that segment that we've already identified, which is people who want a really compact, powerful gaming PC. And this is how you're going to do it. Nothing matches the Nano in this size factor. At $500, I think it's going to be a little bit less daunting for people to pick up, especially if it does hit $500.
Right.
$650, as we mentioned before, it's hitting that edge of, maybe I don't need the power, maybe I'll get something a little bit bigger. And there's the fact that, you have to be careful about the cases that you choose, and you guys have covered that very well, and which cases work, and the fact that if you know a guy with a drill press, you'll be really happy and want to take your case over there. So I don't know. I think it makes it an already interesting part even more interesting, again, for that segment that is looking for a ridiculously tiny, powerful card.
So here's my question. Is this a... So we already know the answer to this. The $649 price, it competed against the GTX 980 Ti in terms of performance, and it had no real competitor in like the small form factor size. At $499, now it competes against the GTX 980, not the 980 Ti. So it puts itself in a much better positioning, performance comparison wise, right, against NVIDIA, but it also does the same thing against AMD's Radeon parts, right? So how much is a Fury? Fury is like $549, I think.
5 and change.
Yeah. So this is now lower than that.
Yep.
And performs really close to it,
Yeah.
right? Because the thing about the Nano is it's the same number of shaders, stream processors as the Fury X, but ran at slightly lower, consistently slightly lower clock speeds. So that kind of creates an interesting debate in AMD's own internal line as well. And obviously, as happy as we are to see price cuts come to things, in general, that means that the Nano didn't sell as well as they would like. Right, you don't drop a card $150 if it's selling extremely well. So,
well, I remember when you originally reviewed this that I had said, "Don't you think it's a little too expensive?" And you're like, "Well, it doesn't pull a lot of power, and it's a form factor." And it's like, yeah, but
I think a few of us
it's
were
a
saying
performance. Shouldn't it be like a $500 card? And you said, "Ha, Cassandra." I don't believe you.
Well, and that was how, the positioning of it was such that they were hoping that the benefits of size and power would outweigh its deficits in performance per dollar.
Yeah, so you're paying a premium for the
You're
small
paying a
size.
premium for the form factor. And it would seem that the consumers weren't as willing to pay that premium for form factor in graphics cards, right? Which is what something AMD was hoping. And I still think it's an interesting angle to take, but being that this drop happens like this, I would not expect there to be a Polaris Nano. But maybe there would be, because now the power consumption on it is so much significantly lower than on Fiji or Hawaii.
They can keep it clocked higher most of the time.
They can keep it clocked higher, right? Maybe all of their cards are nano-sized when they come out in Polaris. I don't know, right?
Well, not all of them.
Maybe all of them, because they have no need to go bigger.
Yeah, but we
than
won't
that.
see HBM on everything.
No, but yeah, okay, yeah. So form factor wise, that would be a concern. But it was interesting to see if you're interested in that card. I mean, it's that much more compelling now, right? And it may even be compelling, even if you don't give a crap about form factor, right? It may be that
it still doesn't pull a huge amount of power.
Yeah,
and it runs fairly cool.
Yeah, and it's going to compete
right?
well against the GTX 980 in performance.
Yeah.
It's cute.
It is adorable, as Ken says. Yes. Yeah, I mean, look at that. It's so adorable.
Adorbs.
So cute. So cute. So what else we got next? We have... this was posted up by Scott. This is something it came out... Scott posted this in December, but we missed it through the holidays and then CES, where the University of Colorado Boulder created a photonic IC. Somebody want to explain this one to me?
It's just it's communication. It's how the chip is communicating on and off chip.
On and off the chip, or on and off die on the same chip?
Well, it's
between chips.
The photonic, it would be from this chip to the next chip.
Okay.
Like imagine all of your pins to connect your CPU to whatever,
right?
Replaced with just some optics.
Okay. I think I saw a demo of this as well at an Intel Labs thing several years ago as well, where this is
pretty far along though. This is where they have memory, CPU, and all of the photonic circuitry all on the same die.
In that die shot, can we tell which part is the photonics?
The photonics should be that huge chunk of stuff on the left, like the left corner, this big, large.
Oh, really? I thought that would have been the processor, but no, I can see the processing blocks below that. And then it looks like cache over there to the right. It's hard to tell, but...
let's see. Memory on top, compute cores to the right. Yeah.
Okay.
Party in the back.
So...
it's just like you have to you're basically making on-die circuits that can produce light, which is tricky.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? It's not an easy thing to do. It's the reason that,
And it's got to turn on and off really, really, really fast.
That too.
Yeah, persistence is going to be a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, that's kind of a big deal, right? If you can, think about that. A lot of your limits on, communication is just how fast can you push electrons through something.
Right.
Right? Well, that's not a thing.
Light is faster than a light.
When you're using light, it's just speed of light. Electrons.
It's okay.
My high school electronics, teacher always used to say, speed of light minus resistance when he's talking about, through a wire.
Oh, right.
Conduction through a wire, right? Well, now you don't have resistance. Now you just got speed of light.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about extra power to overcome all that resistance.
Yeah, but speed of light is still slower when you're doing through fiber optics.
That is true.
It's a medium.
That is true. It is a medium.
It's got to bounce, dog.
It's got to, yeah.
Amen, brother.
I got to bounce. Let's move. Speaking of which, we
Not today.
We gotta bounce on to the next story. Boom. Synology has released a new NAS.
Yep.
DiskStation DS416 lowercase j.
Yeah. That's how they do their.
What's the lowercase
things.
j stand for?
It's just
J-Bot.
they've just had
Jimmy Rig.
J's on these things for a while now. The 4 means it's 4 bays.
Okay. Not externally addressable.
What?
I can't get to the hard drives without taking something apart.
Oh, I think it's just a cover that comes off pretty easy on the front.
Gotcha.
They didn't show it in any of the pictures, but it's just kind of a new design. I think that's just a magnetic.
Gotcha, I see on the
front
Drobos and
deal.
stuff.
Yeah, probably.
All right. What do we got here?
It's got a couple of USBs out the back. One's USB 2, the other one's USB 3. This is going to use that same... We reviewed a couple of these in past years, and their software is actually pretty cool and lets you even mount, you plug in a USB external drive, and it just attaches it and just kind of hangs it off of its own device as if it was just another folder underneath that device on your network.
Okay.
And you can do stuff automatically back up to the drive, connect a really big USB external drive, and it can just automatically like back up to that. Things like that. You know, there's all kinds of flexibility in the software from the Synology NAS stuff. So this guy has.
It seems so crazy. Sorry to interrupt. It seems so crazy to so many people. Like the idea that you just said of taking a big external USB drive.
Yep.
And hooking it up to your NAS.
Yep.
To back up your NAS. Nope. So many people just think that well, this is the backup.
They assume that the NAS.
Right.
Is the
like
backup.
this is the backup. It was like, well, no, actually. It's just because it's not on your computer doesn't mean it won't crash.
The NAS is the backup as long as you have another
a local copy or something. Yeah.
If your computer drive can fit all of your stuff, and then you also have a NAS, then you're good, relatively, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the case for most people.
Could you plug in like a WD something to that, have it all back up to it,
just
and then
like
plug in another WD?
Daisy chain NAS.
I don't know how it would handle. I don't know how to handle that.
Plug 2 USB ports. I don't know. I'm just sorry.
But yeah, so you can do stuff like that. You can the big push for this one is that the specs are better. It's a faster CPU. In this case, it's a dual core
Marvell Armada 88F6828 dual core CPU running at 1.3 gigahertz.
Sounds like a robot that can't say gigahertz.
Gigahertz.
So that lets the write speeds go up significantly. In this case, they're claiming like 101 meg per second, something like that on writes. And that's also considering like it's an array, it's like RAID,
right?
Stuff like that. So you're still able to push over 100 meg per second writes to your NAS. It's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And then the reads are just...
We went a long time without being able to do that in this office.
That is true. That is true.
Which is really stupid.
Yeah. So it's pretty good, especially considering this is a very low power device. They're saying like while the drives are like while accessing drives, this thing draws 22 watts.
Not counting the drives?
I'm guessing not counting the drive.
Okay.
Because the 4 drives is going to draw more than 22 watts per
I would think so, yeah.
So 13 watts hibernating, and then if you have like any kind of decent NAS hard drives and they're in their standby state, then they're basically just not drawing anything anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's great for something that's going to sit in your house all the time, on all the time, 24/7. You don't want it drawing, like having several light bulbs on all the time. That would kind of add up, right? So pretty cool.
Cool. What else we got? Seagate breaking into the Helium market with a 10 terabyte enterprise capacity hard drive.
Yep, I was not expecting this at all.
Surprise!
Surprise!
Why would we launch this at CES? That would be stupid.
It would have been nice to launch it at CES, but they didn't.
I mean, so the quick dirty is what's the importance of a Helium drive?
So the importance, it's not so much the importance. It's
density.
It's that. So you have HGST, which is the company that makes the HE series enterprise drives.
Stands for Helium.
Helium started with the HE6, which was 6 terabytes, right?
Man, I love that.
That was like 2 or 3 years back.
That was a while ago, yes.
And at the time, like that was like the first one to have such a high capacity, and it's like, oh my goodness. But realized that they had to take it took them a while to even get to that point. Like they were talking about a year before they even launched the drive, and they've been iterating on that through several generations, and now as of like December, they're making a HE10, which is 10 terabyte Helium filled. So that's their 3rd generation. It took them 3 generations to get to 10 terabytes, right?
Seagate says F all that.
It's just
10
like
terabytes
no,
a
screw
day.
it. We'll just figure out this Helium stuff. We got it in the bag. Okay,
Corporate espionage,
boom,
right?
10 terabytes, like just all at the same time.
Corporate espionage.
I don't know. I hope
You
not.
can't sign non-competes in California. There you go.
I will say this. I kind of think that this.
I mean, it sounds easy to me. Take a hard drive, fill it with Helium. Boom.
Well,
done.
yeah, but the trick is, it's got to be hermetically sealed now. It's not vented. Hard drives previously have
So you can cover the hole.
Yeah, well, there is no hole
Duct
to cover.
tape.
Like
I'm telling you,
this is not even a hole.
I'm gonna cover that hole whether you like it or not.
Yeah. So and that's and stuff like that should considerably increase the reliability of drives because you don't have to worry about the environment anymore. Like it's just a sealed environment. So
the thing where Josh would take his hard drives, uncover the hole, and sprinkle sand over them.
Yeah, yeah.
Just so he can continue to have a job as an IT professional.
Hey, now
Wait,
you're
that
telling
works?
secrets.
and just stick
I've been doing
things
this wrong all these years.
stick things
Instead
in
of
the
a can
hole.
of air, he's got a can of very fine sand.
Yes. He's just
talcum
he's just
powder.
grinding drywall over
in
all
2
of his.
weeks, you're going to need a hard drive replacement.
He's using that soap with the micro beads and just kind of squirting it in there.
Bubble tea. He's going to use bubble tea.
That does make kind of a big deal. Like something like this, that's a sealed drive you could use in like very low pressure environments because the pressure inside the drive is not going to change. It's sealed.
Except when it's cold.
The temperature shouldn't change it that much. I mean, it's going to have an operating range of temperature.
We had this discussion when we had a Helium drive show up. I was like, oh, it was really cold. And it was like a balloon. Does it like shrink a little bit?
Did the drive shrink?
Does the drive shrink when it gets really cold? Because it's sealed in the Helium expansion? No, apparently not.
Yeah, the one in Josh's house would be slightly larger than the one in your house.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. So
That's how it works.
So this is, I mean, is a good thing, right? There's they're able to fit 7 platters in
Did
a
they say how much
3.5
this
inch drive.
10 terabyte drive?
They did not, but I would suspect it would be comparable to the HGST 10 terabyte drive, which we also don't have pricing on.
Cool, useful.
But it's probably going to be, I would imagine, like less than $1,000 for 10 terabytes.
Shingle drive?
No,
This one's not?
this is not shingled. This is not an
HGSTs
archive drive. No.
Oh,
No. The Seagate 8 terabyte archive drive
it's shingled.
is a shingled magnetic drive.
It makes it sound like it has that disease. I don't like that.
It has shingles.
It's got a rash.
It's got
It's
chicken
just-
pot for adults.
It's you might as well call it the same thing because you can't, like, you pretty much have to SMR drives you have to just write very large things to, and you can't do any kind of random writes.
Yeah.
It just chokes on them.
God, that's just begging for me to talk.
No,
It's so big,
no,
it
it's-
just chokes on it.
No, it's not. It can only do big things. Otherwise it chokes.
Let's talk about shipping manifests.
What?
Ah, my favorite time.
This is our favorite part of the PC Perspective podcast where we talk about shipping manifests.
I actually really do like this when people.
I think this is
that
hilarious.
people pour through this shit.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy, what are we looking at here? This is a shipping manifest from Taiwan to Bangalore that tells us what?
Well, it tells us that this is still a great place to get scoops because the last couple of shipping manifests we've looked at have been going the same route. But what we're seeing is what could be a GP104 NVIDIA GPU that doesn't match what we thought the GP100 series was going to be like. So these chips are 37.5 by 37.5 millimeter packaging as opposed to the 55 millimeter we were expecting, which was also going to use HBM2. And the pin count of 2152 also leads you to sort of think this might be the new one, but the speculation coming from a couple of sites like 3dcenter.org is that this makes it far more likely it's going to be using GDDR5 or one of the newer GDDR5 X-type memories that we will be seeing very soon, and not HBM, which is interesting because NVIDIA told us that they'd be using HBM on Pascal.
Right. I mean, so this is it's supposed to be GP104, which is not the full-size chip, not the biggest chip that they would make, in theory, if they continue with the trends that they have had in the past. So it would appear that similar to what we saw with AMD's lineup, wherein the highest-end cards in the stack might use HBM and the mainstream enthusiast and below might not. Does that seem to make relative sense to you, Josh?
No.
Oh.
Okay, the one interesting thing that I kind of have an interesting problem. Interesting about.
What is the interesting thing with the interesting problem that you have an interesting?
Okay, go back to that thingy, that picture.
The table?
Of the invoice,
Yeah.
of the shipping manifest. What the hell does 650 watts TEC mean?
TEC, thermoelectric cooler.
Oh.
Do you really need a 650 watt TEC for a mid-range Pascal based on GDDR5?
I want to see the casing on that.
No, you wouldn't. But it could just be over purchasing for a 500 watt. I mean, like, I don't know. What was the cooler on the Fury X is rated at what, 500 watts? They said, right? Isn't that what they said in their launch things? You can be able to clock it. It's got a cooler capable of cooling 500 watts, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, that's crazy."
Yeah, but would this part really draw that much?
No, there's no way.
No.
Unless it was a dual GPU part or something like that.
Yeah, but they wouldn't.
Would you launch with a dual GP 104?
There's just a lot of the numbers don't make sense in this thing from
That's the
VR.
problem.
yeah.
Huh?
The VR card.
The VR card, yeah, like if you had a dual GP 104 card,
I guess.
that might make sense, right? It would be a unique approach, something we haven't seen before, right? To launch with the dual GPU variant there.
By the way, we've got a 650 watt TEC thing that you somehow need to power. So you need a 1200 watt power supply, or we will send this nice external adapter to plug into the wall directly.
Wouldn't be the
and
first
you
time.
go ahead and cool that.
I mean, would that have to have like 3 8-pin connectors or something? Or
Way more than that.
Let's see, what did they order
It's a
here?
120 vac
Yeah.
plug that you just plug in.
yeah, it just has you know.
Yeah.
Or it could be that this is all just like testing
Testing
materials and, in there. That's what Chris in the chat room is saying. This is just test equipment. They only ordered 3 of them. Whatever.
Yeah, it could be.
Maybe.
They don't want that to be the limiting factor as they test a GPU.
So all this being aside, like, would you still expect there to be a division between some cards in the Pascal stack will use HBM and some will not?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
That
I think-
part makes sense to me.
HBM is still expensive. Even an interposer by itself, even though it's a big piece of silicon, it's less complex than a GPU or CPU. So you can produce those a lot more easily in faster time because you're dealing with 100 micrometers versus much smaller than that.
Yeah, and all you're doing is interconnects. Like,
Yeah.
there's no
And
circuitry
so
on
it's-
there. It's just pathways.
You still are reticle limited. You've got you only have, so big that you can make this damn thing.
Right.
You can do some tricks to possibly make it larger, but it becomes a lot less economical, especially when you're saying, oh, well, I've got this big silicon wafer that I purchased, and I've only got 3 interposers that I'm able to harvest from this one wafer. And even though silicon wafers are cheap relatively, it still adds up big, especially if you're getting a couple of really big pieces of silicon out of it. The memory itself, HBM2, I mean, we haven't seen any examples yet. We don't know what yields and whatnot are going to be like. They're not going to be bad, probably, but still, it's a technology, and probably the biggest cost is integration of all the pieces onto one interposer. You've got just thousands of
Connection.
balls
Yeah.
that you got to connect
You gotta
to the
grab 'em.
traces.
You gotta
And,
grab them all at the same time.
it's everything's got to be pretty in their set, and all the electrical connections going for these thousands and thousands of pins everywhere, and it's a new technology, and they're still working out some of the kinks. So yeah, it would not surprise me that mid-range and below is going to be GDDR5, and it's only in
Right.
the higher-end parts, which is going to be 450 and above, will have HBM. Other than that, I think it becomes too uneconomical for them to do HBM kind of across the board. GDDR5 is just cheap.
Fair enough.
It reminds me of back in the day when you got the cards that had GDDR, and then the ones that had DRAM as a cheaper alternative.
Well, I mean, even more recently
That
than
was
that,
a
there were
while
some cards that had GDDR5 and then DDR3, like on the low end cards. So I mean, yeah, I mean, you could build a GPU that could do those, but the GPU has to be built differently to handle GDDR versus HBM,
Correct.
right? So
You're going to have two
you can't
different
have one GPU that
memory
can switch back and
controllers
forth.
unless
Yeah,
they did some interesting design that you could handle both.
no way, nobody could do that.
The
Yeah, I mean-
interface is going to be so different. I mean, you've got a 1024 wide interface on
Right.
one, and then the other is going to be 512 at most. No, it's 4096 wide.
Yes,
On HBM.
So
Yeah.
you're saying they're going to have 3.5 gigs of HBM2 memory and half a gig of GDDR5?
Oh, now you're opening up the can of worms. And it'd be 3 gigs because you just rip that
True.
one memory module off, and you've got,
well,
3,000
somebody won the
something.
Powerball. Did you guys win the Powerball?
I haven't checked.
Too bad.
Did
The
you buy
winners
your
the winners in California.
Did you buy your ticket in California?
There's one winner.
So far.
That's what
So
they
far.
say so far. That's what they say. I'm sure it's still me.
It's so. I mean, we should know this instantly.
Yeah, well, they have to come forward.
The person
No,
has
no, no. We should know that there is
one,
ticket
2,
is
or 5
sold
winners.
instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't have to wait for states to report.
They have those stats. Like, they said there was like 114 people or something up till now that had won over $1 million, but didn't claim. Because they just figured, I didn't win the Powerball. And they didn't realize you had secondary prizes for, like, if you got really, really close.
Right.
Yeah, oh well.
Tough luck for them.
Yep.
Haha. Report AMD Carrizo FM2 Plus processor listings appear online.
Okay.
A pair of unreleased AMD Athlon X4 processors appeared in a supported CPU list on Gigabyte's website, since removed, long enough to give away some information about the new FM2 Plus models. An X4 835, X4 845, both 65-watt quad-core parts that are based on Excavator. Anything interesting about these, other than the last 2 letters KA, confirm the CPUs are based on Carrizo?
They're 65 watts. That's kind of interesting. We don't know what clock speeds. Somebody was mentioning upwards of 3.5 gigahertz. Of course, that's with a Excavator dual module, 4-core, and no graphics, which is, I can see it happening. And, AMD's producing these in mass quantities, and certainly they're going to bin them out, and there are some that just won't work in the 15 to 25 watt. Does it go up to 35 watt with Carrizo, or just 25? I think it's 25, right?
I don't remember.
Okay, for the mobile, I think it is 25 watts max. Other than that, it starts getting really inefficient. 65 watts, it's not doing fantastic, and 95 watts is just out the window. So, what you have is probably scavenged parts that they want to sell because they still work, and they work at that TDP and speed. So they're going to probably sell them. And they want to, because nobody likes inventory.
Nope, hates it. Nobody. We like to have it, but you want to sell it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's talk about SSDs and my eventual target to have a 10 cent per gigabyte SSD on the market by the end of 2016. And
not with this one.
I don't know, not with this one. But look, we have forced so much change upon the industry. I don't understand why you aren't using the power of positive thinking that we could do this as well. How about a 13 terabyte SSD? A very tall 2.5-inch drive, very thick 2.5-inch drive, but a 13.
It's 9.5
2.5 inches thick.
Oh, it's really not that big then. Okay.
No, it's the old school SSD thickness.
Okay, 9.5 millimeter thick, 13 terabyte, 2.5-inch SATA SSD from a company called Fixstars.
Yep.
Japanese company, geared towards media streaming and recording.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
so you put these in your Red cameras and
that's
stuff
what
like
they're
that.
for. That's what they're for. They're meant for just like, if you're writing to it, you're only meant to be writing like sequential, large, streams, high bandwidth. That's it. And then you basically, this is what you put in your Red camera, you record to it because you just need a lot of storage that you can write to quickly. And then you stick it in whatever hard drive dock you have sitting next to your really, really expensive video editing rig that's editing 8K raw, footage out of a Red camera. And then you just dump it all over to that. But if you were to fill this thing all the way up and empty it onto your editing rig, the total evolution would take you 14 hours.
14 hours to write it
write it fully and read it fully.
Yeah. How much did we say this costs?
We suspect it's $13,000. So $1 a gig.
So $1 a gig. So that's funny because it's not an exorbitant. Like it's high price
it's not
per
an
gig.
insanely high price. No.
But it's like there are still SSDs that are out there
that
we talk about all the time that are $1 a gig. This one just happens to have a lot of gigs.
Yes.
So
and it adds up.
I was really hoping this was going to be $1,300, guys.
I did find it interesting.
There's only 1 0 off.
I found it interesting that the multiple is not. First of all, the multiple is not a power of 2. Like it's like 4 terabyte SSDs, 8 terabyte SSDs.
Sure.
These guys make a 10 and a 13 in this thing.
Is that just their over provisioning methods? Maybe it's got to be what it is.
I guess,
right? Or maybe it's actually
because you can't buy die that are different.
Yeah, and they also say, like as a little disclaimer, it's a power of 10 numbers. So when they say 13 terabytes, they mean it in hard disk drive terms. 13 terabytes,
right?
Not like so it ends up working out to something like 11.8 if you actually wanted to do like a computer, capacity math.
Computer math.
Yeah. So
That's
I hear computers excel at that.
basically you lose over a terabyte just based on the fact that you're going to put this in a computer thing.
Yeah, so 13 terabyte SSD sounds amazing, guys, but sorry, it's not what I wanted. It's not the price tag I wanted.
Yeah, no. We need it much cheaper.
Disappointing.
Although you were doing math, and if it was 10 cents a gig,
It'd be $1,300.
$1,300 for
Yeah.
13 terabytes.
Right. That's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be.
And that's why it's completely unrealistic
That's going to happen.
of a price.
Like, literally at CES, we saw a 13.5 cent per gig
I know.
SSD.
I know.
4 terabyte SSD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
I didn't say we'd get a 250 gig drive for $25.
That drive was, oh man, it was like Death Wish RAID for SSDs.
Who cares?
You're always supposed to have a backup, Alan.
I'm going to go back in time and look through all the products that had RAID 0 arrays that you liked in SSD technologies.
Okay.
And they were there. So you're going to like this
Yeah,
one
they
because it's going to be 13.5 cents per gig.
Because we're going to make you like it.
And then it's going to be on sale and it'll be like 10.9 cents per gig. And that counts because I round down.
But it's a RAID behind a J Micron RAID chip.
Don't care.
We'll see how it performs.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't know.
How bad is latency going to get?
Yeah.
Really?
The latency of most SSDs that were like RAIDs behind a chip, the latency was because they were using SandForce controllers.
Well, see, there you go. Boom, fixed.
Most of the latency
Yeah.
was from the SSD controllers that were all behind the RAID.
Yeah. So you're fine. Quit
Yeah.
bitching.
Anyway.
Jeez.
Okay.
The eight,
Happy for a change.
Our final story, the 8-bit guy on computer performance. I have to admit, I did not watch this video. Did anybody watch this video where the 8-bit guy who did the videos that we've talked about before about like early computer graphics, how they did early computer graphics, how they did early computer audio? It was actually really, really, really interesting stuff. But here he talks about basically how processor performance has improved. His main argument is that software seems to have slowed down relative to hardware. I don't
Yeah.
know. You think so?
I mean, as far as like what?
I feel like hardware slowed down first.
as far as like it's
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing.
Like the gigahertz race happened, it crashed, and we went to the core
does he mean
race.
like perceptively the software slowing down compared to the hardware, or like
I'm sure that's what it is.
like it's just
yes.
bulky and stuff,
Yeah.
right? Because like back in the day, like early PC gaming days, you had some amazing stuff come out that was just doing like magical things on a given set of hardware. When like
Yeah, he's more focused on general computer usage.
yeah.
So web browsers don't launch that much quicker. But
Right,
then
right,
again,
yeah.
you didn't have 87 tabs open back in the day.
Well, that's true, too.
Just sort of general desktop programs. There's not a huge difference. Well, apart from the SSD, which he's leaving out because he's talking CPUs and GPUs. And well, in a way, the funny thing is when competition starts to slow down, that has an effect on the race. And to be honest, right now the race is more efficiency than power. Like things aren't getting necessarily faster; they're just.
You mean
getting-
performance, efficiency, not performance. Yeah, okay.
Efficiency,
yeah.
not performance.
Yeah.
And Scott sort of goes in to say that another level to that is, well, the CPU level maybe isn't changing at the drastic pace that we used to see it change at. GPUs are, and software that leverages GPU power is. So while you've still got CPUs slowly gaining in performance, but more so in efficiency, the software is now dealing a lot more with tossing tasks off to the GPU. And as he sort of puts it, the CPU is just sort of there to make sure that the, what did he say there? The frame train is kept full for the GPU. And that does add software bloat when you've now making calls to a GPU through the CPU as opposed to just this is a purely CPU task. It's a movie you should watch. It's kind of neat.
Gotcha.
And definitely read Scott's little take on it because, as he has spent some time programming, he's got a rough idea what he speaks.
just a little.
Biohazard in the chat says this all started when he tried to run modern software on an old Intel MacBook and found that it ran all right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very cool stuff. Let's get into our hardware software picks of the week, everybody. Hope everybody's excited for this. Mine is a battery.
It's a bigger battery than you used to have.
No, I don't think it'll explode. This is the Dell Power Companion 6-cell, 18,000 milliamp hour battery pack.
6 cell?
6-cell.
6.
18,000?
It's got to be a typo.
Okay. It's 18,000 milliamp hours based on the metrics on here.
Because the one we started to bust open over there.
Not all cells are the same size.
Okay.
Because Lenovo has 6-cell batteries that are 50-something watt hours and some that are 72 watt hours. So, but this is an 18,000 milliamp hour battery. It comes with dongles to. It's built by Dell to power your laptop.
Yeah.
Right.
Just like a dedicated laptop charging cord.
Right, and then it has 2 USB ports on it as well. So super handy if you travel.
I'm guessing like 2 amp.
Yeah,
probably.
they're 2 amp outputs on it. Kind of your standard 2 amp.
Yeah.
Good. 2 amp outputs.
Is the charging thing the same thing that would go into the laptop?
So yeah, this charges through the laptop charger cable. That's why there's actually 2 ports on it. Like there's a small one and a big one.
Yeah.
Because it also comes with 2 cables, one with the small connection and one with the big connection.
Because different kinds of laptops.
Because there's just 2 laptops that have 2 different connection types. Oh look, I'm doing an infinite loop there.
Charging itself from itself. That's interesting.
I often wonder what will happen when you do this.
It'll heat up and upload.
Yes.
Yeah, you basically just made a bomb there. It's a good thing you diffused it really quickly.
Pulled it out, so to speak.
So if
That's right. Here on PC Per, we diffuse bombs.
So what happens if you take your laptop power supply?
Yep.
You plug it into that.
Yep.
You take that, you plug it in your laptop.
Right, and
so
then it's
now
charging both.
Now everything charges all?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, and so you keep this with you, you put it in line, and then when I go out of town on a 2-day, 3-day trip, 2-day trip probably at most, I can just bring this with me and get a whole lot of juice on it.
Is that how much is that compared to what's in your laptop?
Maybe a full half battery or something like that.
So like 50% of it.
No, wait, no, it's more than that. What is it?
Yeah,
It's like 3.5.
Is it?
Well, a little less than
Nah, because the milliamp rating is at 5 volts.
5 volts.
Right, and not 12 or 19. I don't remember which one that one's at. I can tell you here in a second. Actually, I'll do it while we're looking at other stuff. Now, the problem with these is that they're kind of expensive. This here on Amazon is $105. So that's
pricey, but it's pricey. It's a very high capacity battery.
It is high capacity. It comes with the cables to work with your device.
Not only that, but here's the thing: you're not getting like some random supplier.
Yeah,
high capacity battery pack. Like those are going to be like good quality cells.
I would assume it's the same ones they're using in their laptops.
Yeah, so they're going to be like Sanyo cells or Panasonic cells in there, not the ones that end up being rated a lot less than what you actually are getting out of the cells that are in the pack.
Right.
So,
I had a 12,000 milliamp hour version of it as well previously. So, but you get some kind of warranty and stuff from a company at least that you've heard of. So that's always a benefit.
It's going to work with at least the computer. It is convenient that it charges the laptop, especially.
Yeah,
it's
got a pass
really
through on it and that type of thing.
Yeah.
That's really why I wanted. I'll look up what its actual relation is to the battery inside this as well. So that is my pick of the week. What do we have here from Jeremy? What do you got for us?
Well, I sort of got annoyed with the strange buildup of cat hair and smoke particles in my keyboard slowly killing keys. So, unlike a rational person, I didn't quit smoking. I bought a washable keyboard.
Hey, you know what? People, you do what you got to do, right?
And I mean, the K310 from Logitech, which is what this is, not only is it kind of snazzy, I mean, nice black and white.
Yeah.
The Canadian version is about half the price of the American version.
What?
And
there's no
it's gonna wash
letters?
out too bad. For whatever reason, they've included Arabic on it, as well as French and English.
So I guess that's how Canadians do their business, huh?
So I'm sure I'm on a list somewhere now. But I honestly, it's kind of nice. It's got a decent feel to it. It's not a $130 mechanical keyboard. It has no backlights, and therefore I love it.
It's hard to tell I'm looking at the pictures of it, and it doesn't look like. How is it actually water sealed? Because there is a gap between the key and.
No, you see everything on the back
this picture.
There. That is for easy draining of water. So I haven't pulled it apart yet, but the internals are done a little bit differently. So instead of the nasty membrane, which builds up,
just blows me away just looking at that.
So instead of electrolytes building up in between it because of nasty water, it just drains out just fine and is sealed in. And you can fit your fingernail underneath the keys. Like, everything is completely and totally open.
That is the most fake-looking kitchen, by the way, I've ever seen.
What is that thing on the bottom?
Photography.
What is that Logitech branded stick on the bottom of it?
What?
Look at that.
This right here?
On the bottom. On the
It's a
left.
squeegee.
It's a key remover.
Yeah, that thing that he just took
No,
off.
it's a washer.
Oh, it's a brush. I see.
Oh,
Brushy.
Brush.
look at
You
that.
can get the little stubborn stains out as well.
Scrub-a-dub-dub. Your keyboard in the tub or something.
And the USB.
Can I throw it in
plug
my
has
clothes
a little
washing
plastic
machine?
cap on it. So yeah, you could take a bath with
Good
it.
gunk. Good gunk.
Can you
Well,
put it
we
through the
know the
dishwasher?
real reason that Jeremy bought
I
this.
don't know. They put it in the
Yeah.
sink. I mean,
It's a little
it's
hot for dishwasher.
submerged in the sink.
Dishwasher's
Like,
a little hot.
It's
Yeah, no,
left-hand
they-
compatible.
yeah, you could use it in the shower. Of course, you can use it in the shower, Sebastian.
Oh, hell's yeah.
Sure, why not?
Yeah. I mean, it's just
don't bring the
it's no
computer in with
different
you.
than this, literally.
Now they just need a mouse that you can do the same thing with, and you'd be
Yeah.
set.
Okay, moving on. Josh.
Me. You know what? I haven't done one of these in ages, but I saw it at CES. The what, G502 from Logi? Not the Spectrum one that you got for review, but just the regular, a little cheaper. You don't have the programmable RGBs.
Oh, no.
I know that's taken a step backwards in style and functionality, but it's a darn good mouse, and it's on sale, sort of.
But it's going to get dirty and you won't be able to clean it.
This is I mean, you can try dunking in water and see what happens to it. I wouldn't recommend it, I guess.
No.
This is my current favorite mouse as well, I have to admit. On my desk right now, I have the G402. But at the GPU test bed, we have the G502 connected, the same one, the Proteus core. And I like the way it feels better. And really, the only reason I'm not using it all the time is I have been too lazy and forgetful to switch the two mice, which is kind of disappointing to say. But I like the weight of this one. It's heavier than the 402. To the point that I enjoy it better. I think it works better. I can be more accurate with it. The click of the wheel, kind of as the scroll works, is nice. A lot of this type of stuff is personal preference, but I think the G502 is probably the best gaming mouse around right now. That's like a reasonable price as well. It is, and it actually apparently people on Amazon agree with me. Well, no, it's the #1 bestseller in Mac gaming mice, which is an odd.
There's such a thing as a Mac gaming mouse?
Apparently.
They're still getting used to 2 buttons. Come on.
The second one on that list is the Logitech MX Master Wireless, which Ken uses and likes a lot. And then the third one is eTech City Scroll X1. And it's
for $14.98.
$14.
You probably can't beat it for $14.98.
Yeah.
Probably not.
And it's got a gold USB plug. Come on.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. Actually, okay, look, it's the #1 bestseller in PC gaming mice, too. Why wouldn't they list that?
That should be first.
Like, what?
Because PC gaming is dead, man.
Like, it's #1 in PC gaming mice. It's number 2 is the Razer Death Adder. Number 3 is some $9.99 Razer ripoff looking mouse. And then you've got like the $12 Red Dragon. Ooh, yeah. After the first 2, you get into some ripoffs.
Telling you, man, Mac gaming's where it's at. You play Lunatic Fringe with that freaking
Logitech G700S
Logitech
is
mouse.
still in there. The G602 is on there. Yeah, I'm a fan of this mouse. I agree with Josh on this. I think you'd be hard pressed to go wrong with it. And then if you want the RGB version, is that one actually for sale yet, Josh? Did you look?
The Spectrum?
Is it the G502 Spectrum?
Proteus Spectrum.
Yeah. Nope, not for sale yet.
Thanks, Amazon
That's
search.
not it.
Oh wait, no, here it is, $79.99
there it is.
in stock January 18th. So okay, yeah, just
We're close.
Yep.
5 days.
so $15 more to get the RGB lights in there. If you
Boy,
want
those RGBs are worth it.
man, RGBs,
5.8 billion colors or whatever.
RGB all the
Stupid
world.
number.
Is it 8?
All
Oh.
the things.
I don't remember how many.
Billions.
It's billions. All right, last but not least, Alan. Alan, show us what you got, buddy. Come on, let me see him.
You might be getting old soon.
Not me. Never,
All you young whippersnappers.
Nope.
never getting old.
So here's the thing. You get to the point where you kind of start to need glasses to be able to focus on close stuff, right? Problem is, you don't like carrying the damn things around. It's a huge pain in the butt. You don't know where to stick them, right? Who is eating whatever?
I don't know. Jeremy is making a cigarette.
Jeremy's like, that's what he's doing. That's actually what he's doing. Yes. All right. So I'm at one of the little expo things at CES, and there's these guys showing these things. It's like this really thin. It looks like a little credit card case.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, like
It is thin.
It looks like one of those things you'd slide a couple of credit cards into, and that you would like stick on the back of your phone case or something. Except there is a pair of reading glasses that these guys make really, really freaking tiny.
God. Well, okay. I'm glad you're appealing to our elderly audience.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead
am.
with your pick.
Not even I,
and it's just
who's
like,
older than Alan, need reading glasses yet.
There you go. You usually put them lower.
I tried them on a couple of times, actually, and the issue I have with them, and I'm curious your experience, like, if my glasses aren't perfectly level, it annoys the shit out of me.
What I've noticed
like
is
sunglasses,
it's not really
my
hard
regular
to-
glasses that I have, if they're not like, if one of them is like this slightly,
Yeah.
oh man, it drives me
Well,
nuts.
then you just put them on straight when you put them on.
Yeah, but it looks like it would be really hard to get them on straight the
not-
first time. Like you'd have to
it's like-
fiddle and adjust with them.
Once you get used to it, it's like nothing. It's like really easy. And they stay put relatively. Like they have.
Yeah, I was going to say, because when you read, you're usually looking downwards.
Yeah, the guy told me the trick that they use. The nose pads are actually 120 grit sandpaper.
So you can exfoliate as you read.
It exfoliates your nose for you as you're reading. But it's like you don't need like a huge set of like glasses, or you're just trying to like you're just using your phone for a second up close. You want to look at something and you can't focus that close.
And you
once
need
get
your
old.
shoes.
And you need your glasses and your
your
shoes so you
shoes.
can have
And not
them.
only that, but you're going to put one of those ropes around somehow, or the edges, and loop it around your neck, aren't you?
See, that's the thing I don't.
It's going to
wanna
be a
do,
chain.
right?
You're going to have those things.
Yeah, I don't like that. That drives me
Whatever.
crazy.
I will
so
admit-
I just need something to do some close-up work for a little bit.
When
and then
I-
I'm done, and then like they just kind of like fold. You can't like they just kind of like fold on themselves a little bit, and then they fit in the case.
I think those are neat. How much are they?
$25.
Yeah, okay, that's not bad. I will say that when I see a guy that is wearing like pleated khakis and a button-up shirt with a sweater over it,
Yeah.
and he has reading glasses with like the strap on him, like
the-
on his
yeah,
chest,
yeah.
that guy knows his shit. That is a
Does he?
guy that has invested in his 401k,
Oh, I
and
see.
he is set, right? And when he wants to look at the New York Times, he pops those babies on, and when he's done and he's going to talk some business with you, he throws them down. He doesn't worry about where they go. They're going to be on his chest later.
Yeah, yeah.
He
I get it.
knows.
I get it.
He knows where they're going to be.
He just doesn't know how to get into his email.
He just, yeah, he just needs to call IT support so he can get into his Googles. It happens. So that's Thin Optics, stick anywhere, go everywhere.
I think they're just called thin optics. Like
Thin Optics, stick anywhere, Josh. Go everywhere. Reading glasses plus universal pod
I'm
case.
sorry, the one-eyed man cannot read.
No, the one-eyed man could, but the one-nosed, the no-nosed guy would be out of
okay.
it.
And it's like I forget.
I've got an issue with this marketing. Really?
Why?
Just
Why?
show old people.
Yeah, that's kind of a joke.
Don't
You know,
show people in their like their 30s
you're an
using reading
asshole.
glasses.
Look at that.
just show old people.
Oh, come on.
What? That guy's like 40.
No,
he's
he's
not.
not. He's like
Okay.
28.
Yeah, that's true.
The like it's just
Should've
market
used me
research.
instead.
No, but they're hoping is that the older people that wear them will think it makes them look
Yes.
younger,
Yeah,
right?
I bet that's
come
it.
on, man. This is how marketing.
That
works.
is not why I'm using them. I just want to be able to see my damn phone.
Uh-huh. Likely story.
Just saying.
All right, so that's it, everybody. That is the podcast for this week. I apologize that none of you
Are you
won the
apologize for the
Powerball.
brevity of it?
No,
we don't know that none of them won the Powerball yet.
Somebody in Chino Hills, California, has won Powerball.
Listen, if you happen to be a listener
That's
and
true.
you won the Powerball, I'd like to remind you of our Patreon.
That's right. If you won the Powerball, or even if you won a subset of the Powerball, a couple $1 million,
Yeah.
right? Let me remind you about supporting your favorite tech podcast at patreon.com/PCPer. And again, I'll show you that page right here. Like I said, go to that page. You can read the backstory about why we're doing it, why we want to do it, what the rewards are you get. You can see our upcoming goal here. I think at $1,000, we will start. We're going to make can have more work to do by setting up a video podcast RSS feed. People have asked for that for a while. That honestly does cost us money each month, because that means we have to actually host a video version of the podcast for people to download. And we pay per gigabyte of downloading. It's interesting because when you have an RSS subscription to something, sometimes you just download it. It downloads automatically, and you don't really care if you ever listen to it or not.
Yep.
Right. If you have like 5,000 people download a 4 or 5 gigabyte video file,
that adds up.
They never watch it because they don't really care or whatever. It's like, you know what? Actually, that's like 100 gigs of bandwidth.
Yeah.
And okay, that's not an insignificant amount of money. It's not a ton of money from Amazon.
Yep.
But it is something there. So if we reach 1,000, you'll see the next goal. I think we have 2,000 is to beef up personnel. 3,000 was we do the mailbag show. 4,000 was beef up personnel again. 5,000 was the weekly gaming show as well. And I think no ads ever on any PC Pro product was $70,000 a month. So if somebody wants to win the Powerball, they want to gift everybody an ad-free everything all the time, it's just $70,000 a month.
Just $70,000 a month.
That's inexpensive at half the price.
Okay.
It is. Yes. Wait.
Otherwise, I will put up headlines that are more annoying and have less content than BuzzFeed.
Yeah. Have you seen that new Marvel trailer?
Wait, which one? There's a new Marvel trailer?
Ant-Man 2?
Oh, man.
Paul
Rudd's my guy.
Anti-Manor? More anti?
One crazy Josh trick could save you millions.
Josh is turning tricks
These
now?
10 these 10 Josh Tech trips, companies hate him for. All of that stuff will happen. It's just, it's fair warning. But thank you guys for joining us. PCPro.com/podcast. Find all the back episodes. Find the RSS feed. Subscribe. All that good stuff. Spread the word. And again, Patreon.com/PCPro. We'd appreciate anything that you feel that we are worth. He says, hopeful, not. Just be nice with us. Come on, guys. That's fine. That's it. We'll see you guys next week. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Malventano.
Bye.